A Tale from the Sunken Archive, Book 2, The Inkwell Rebellion. Chapter 1, Barnacles of Betrayal. It was 5 minutes past happy hour, and already Ceph was suspicious. Octavious had been smirking, since he'd walked into Krakenhead's wearing that ridiculous sash that read Trivia Monarch in glittery kelp script. Ceph twirled one tentacle around a coaster and narrowed his eyes. Was that sash professionally fabricated, or did the mocktail mirage finally liquefy your dignity? Octavius just adjusted the crown of cocktail umbrellas perched atop his head and slid onto the bar stool with the confidence of someone who had absolutely misquoted a historical fact but gotten away with it. Ceph, your jealousy is showing. Again. Just like that time you mistook the octopus census for a dating app. I got 3 responses, thank you. Ceph snapped, flicking a lemon wedge at him. Before the petty banter could escalate into a full-scale salt fight, something caught Ceph's eye. A corner of aged parchment poking out from under the shot wheel's base. He slinked over and tugged it free. It shimmered faintly in the light of the tiki torches, bearing an intricate seal of tentacles, bubbles, and what looked like a disappointed jellyfish. "Aha!" Ceph cried, hoisting the scroll like a trophy. "Behold, the lost scroll of Kraken diplomacy." Octavius blinked. "That's a napkin." Ceph unrolled it with flair. "It's written in diplomatic glyphs, or marinara, hard to tell. Either way, it's a map and we're going treasure hunting." Octavius groaned. "The last time we followed one of your maps, we found a bathtub full of oyster crackers and a barnacle named Frank who refuses to leave." Ceph grinned. "Exactly. We're overdue for more chaos. We leave at dawn." "Ceph, it's an underwater bar. There is no dawn." "Then we leave at brunch." Octavius sighed, reaching for his trivia notebook. "Fine, but I'm bringing my waterproof flashcards. I refuse to get eaten by a history-themed sea monster because you can't read glyphs without squinting dramatically." Ceph saluted with a toothpick sword. "To diplomacy and delusion." And so, the scroll was pocketed, the feud reignited, and the duo prepared to plunge into the depths, one armed with optimism, the other with the creeping dread that brunch would somehow involve sentient sea cucumbers. Chapter 2, The Pub Crawl Protocol. By the time brunch arrived, a relative term in the aquatic underworld, Ceph had donned his ceremonial trivia jacket, covered in question marks and jam stains, and Octavius had packed 6 waterproof notebooks, 2 snorkel pens, and exactly 0 tolerance for Ceph's dramatic narration. Their first stop was the Coral Grumble, a dimly lit tavern notorious for serving drinks with moods and bartenders who ask, "Are you emotionally hydrated?" before pouring. Ceph strutted in like a misunderstood hero. "I believe this is where the second Kraken glyph is hidden," he announced. Octavius whispered, "You also believed jellyfish were made of marshmallow once." A glowing conch behind the bar signaled the first challenge, decode the drink menu written in old kelp. Ceph ordered the suspicious stingray, which immediately tried to wiggle off the bar. Octavius opted for the historian's regret, a mocktail so bitter it made his trivia face twitch. Mid-sip, the trivia trial began. A glowing orb floated down, announcing, "Round 1, Cephalopod Facts and Lies." Ceph grinned. Octavius groaned. "True or false?" boomed the orb. "Cephalopods have 3 hearts." "True," shouted Ceph. "Correct. Second question. Is Ceph short for cephalopocalypse?" Ceph blinked. Octavius answered, "False. That was just his old DJ name." Ceph gasped. "You said you deleted that mixtape." By the end of the round, Ceph had earned the next glyph, a swirly symbol shaped like his third favorite tentacle. Octavius pocketed it silently, already worried about the next stop, the mocktail mirage, a tavern rumored to alter memories, moods, and your ability to pronounce the word historical correctly. Ceph twirled toward the exit. Onward, destiny awaits, and possibly sentient pretzels. Octavius sighed and followed. He had a sneaking suspicion that Ceph's version of destiny involved interpretive dance, surprise trivia combat, and at least one jellyfish mariachi band. And so the pub crawl commenced, one scroll piece at a time, one absurd challenge after another. An epic journey powered by sarcasm, salt, and slightly fermented citrus. Chapter 3. Ink and Instinct. The mocktail Mirage did not come with a warning label, but it should have. Within seconds of entering, Ceph forgot why they were there. Octavius developed an inexplicable fondness for disco clams, and every drink on the menu came with a personality disorder. The walls shimmered with bioluminescent riddles. The napkins whispered affirmations. The bartender offered them a beverage called Existential Punch and winked ominously. "I think I just remembered a past life," Ceph muttered after his first sip. "I was a barnacle therapist." Octavius rolled his eyes. "You once believed you were part sponge because of your emotional absorption rate." "That was a scientific theory," Ceph protested, dramatically side-eyeing a sentient mojito. Their second glyph was rumored to be hidden inside a trivia challenge etched into a jellyfish chandelier. Ceph, interpreting the runes upside down and with theatrical flair, accidentally triggered a flashback fountain, blasting octopus ink across the bar like it owed everyone money. "Ceph!" shouted Octavius, clinging to a floating cheese wheel left over from last week's fondue combat night. "It was a misfire," Ceph said, coughing through the ink cloud. "The chandelier glared at me too hard." The patrons applauded, some wept. One plankton signed a petition to have the duo canonized as underwater cautionary tales. They recovered the glyph after Ceph correctly answered a deeply suspicious trivia question. "What is the average number of regrets per squid during karaoke?" Answer, 3, and a hidden fourth. Octavius stared at Ceph. "Did you guess that?" "I felt it," Ceph whispered, "in my ink glands." Glyph secured, they stumbled out of the Mirage with 2 truths, 1 lie, and a glitter-covered copy of the Krakenhead's employee handbook from 1997. "I think that bar changed me," said Octavius. "I think I flirted with a sea anemone," said Ceph. "Did it flirt back?" "No, but it blinked at me in Morse code." And so, slightly more baffled but infinitely more committed, the duo pressed onward. The scroll's secrets were beginning to make sense, or nonsense, with a kind of ink-born logic only Ceph seemed to understand. Octavius didn't trust it, which was fair. Ceph had just declared the next tavern challenge involved synchronized interpretive dance. Chapter 4. Tentacles of Truth. The third tavern on the scroll's map was less of a tavern and more of a crumbling amphitheater wedged between 2 giant sea sponges. Its name, the Spiny Reckoning, was etched into a clamshell above the entrance, along with the slogan, "Now serving existential dread on tap." Octavius hesitated. "Ceph, the bartender is humming the theme to Abyss Idol. I don't trust this." Ceph, already halfway through the door, replied, "This is clearly the final trial. You can tell by the ambience, dramatic lighting, ancient glyphs glowing ominously, and someone weeping softly near the pufferfish fountain." They were ushered in by a jellyfish in a tuxedo who floated with the bored elegance of someone who had seen too many questing duos fall flat during their interpretive triumph of the tentacle routines. A voice echoed from the shadows, "Participants, you must now perform the dance of diplomatic destiny." Ceph leapt onto the center platform. "At last my talents are required." Octavius winced as Ceph began swaying in erratic spirals, flinging cocktail napkins like sacred petals. Each movement unintentionally activated a different section of the amphitheater. The salty history archives caught fire, briefly, ceremonially. A kraken skeleton clapped. A sentient fern started sobbing. Octavius rolled his eyes, pulled out his trivia flashcards, and muttered the ancient kraken greeting. "May your tentacles never tangle mid-toast." That's when the final scroll piece floated down from the rafters, glowing softly and whispering, "You dance like despair made flesh." Ceph caught it mid-air and struck a triumphant pose. Octavious grabbed the parchment and held it up to the bar's sacred menu light. The complete map now revealed the true origin of Kraken diplomacy. Not strategic alliances or witty repartee, but interpretive seaweed dance-offs, held in moonlit kelp groves. Ceph grinned. "I knew it. Art saves everything." Octavius sighed. No wonder the council disbanded. Someone probably flossed too hard and broke a treaty. As the crowd of confused sea creatures began filing out, they overheard a grizzled anglerfish mutter, "They're the weirdest prophecy I've ever seen, but they are the prophecy." With scroll complete and dance moves emotionally scarring the memory of at least 3 squid, Ceph and Octavius prepared to return to Kraken heads. One armed with truth, the other with a lingering migraine from excessive glitter. Epilogue: The Truce of Tumbles back at Kraken. Heads the shot wheel spun lazily, now adorned with a ceremonial sash that read, "Diplomacy, it's mostly interpretive." A crowd of crustaceans gathered for what was supposed to be quiet trivia night, but ended up a full retelling of Ceph's triumph dance, complete with stingray backup dancers and one confused starfish in a top hat. Ceph, reclined like a lounge lizard with extra limbs, raised a glass. To cultural discovery, artistic truth, and the emotional power of fermented kelp. Octavius, sipping a mocktail named the Cephalopology, sighed. And to scrolls that should have stayed lost. They'd returned victorious, scroll assembled, glyphs interpreted, amphitheaters mildly traumatized. The Kraken Council declared their feud both historic and concerning, then handed them a plaque that read, "Most Dramatic Diplomats, 2nd place." Ceph hung it proudly next to the photo of him almost winning the deep-sea limbo finals. Guests cheered when the duo revealed their limited edition drink line. Ceph's glyph glitch glows in the dark and tells secrets if shaken. Octavius's footnote fizz, flat, factual, and weirdly comforting. The tentacle truce, layered mocktail with warring ingredients that somehow taste great together. That night, trivia resumed under flickering lanterns. Ceph mispronounced archipelago with flair. Octavius corrected him in 6 languages. The shot wheel hummed. The jukebox played a remix of kelp dance beats and historical quotes. And as the ocean currents carried laughter through the coral canyons, one truth remained. History might be carved in stone, but legends are written in napkin scribbles, salted mocktails, and the kind of banter only best frenemies can sustain for eternity.